Hello, everybody. Here we are. It is a Sunday night this week, and we are live here. We're chatting Trek. Now, as always, I am not here on my own. I am joined by my good friend G from Queensland. G, how are you, mate?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good. And we're not here on our own either. We have our very good friend, the man, the legend, Mr. Peter Budd.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you tonight. Yes,
how are you, mate?
Well, it's 6. I'm well. 6 o'clock up here, unlike 7 o'clock down in the dark as well. But,
So, Star Trek Discovery Season 3, what's episodes 6 and 7? 7 and 8?
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
7
So
and 8.
we're probably, based on the length of these seasons, probably around about the halfway mark at this point.
Well, there's 13 eps.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so there you go. So we're about that halfway mark. So before we get into it, so we've got 2 episodes. Obviously, last week's episode was Scavengers. And then this week's one, Unification 3, which we'll get into that. But I loved it. My first question for you guys, though, is so how are you feeling like at the halfway point of Season 3 Disco? What are you thinking? You're happy with it? You see where it's going?
Well, I'm kind of... Look, I thought, well, Scavengers, there's a... Berman's Archean Scavengers annoyed the hell out of me, and then suddenly got corrected in Unification 3. So I was like, okay. Yes, they're not going to drag out the burn from the promo. But unfortunately, it does look like the burn's going to be the result of some big bad, you know. Look, you know, again, I'm excited and enjoying it because it's its own show now, despite some lingering issues that I have. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and like it's more a case of that's on this week. I need to watch that as opposed to the previous 2 years, which were kind of like, I'll get around to that.
Oh, Blake, you better be careful. We are going to be very spoiler heavy in this. So if you want to wait until we're chatting about Mandalorian, if you give it about half an hour, around about the 7:30 mark, tune back in then. And, but there'll be spoilers there too.
Go make dinner.
G, what are you thinking about it so far?
Yeah, I'm spot on with Peter Budd. Scavengers, there was some. I love the callbacks when they're walking through the scavenger building or their facility. The self-stealing stem bolts and the TNG phase, the era phases, all those really cool things that only...
The self-stealing stem bolts, I was waiting for them to walk past like a crate with No J Consortium stamped on the side.
Yeah,
I just want to know if they had to pay copyright for the Running Man scenario. But,
it's funny. I've actually got that, because we sit there and we watch them and, because we're going to chat about them and, as we get older, our memories a bit like a sieve. So, we make notes. And it's funny. I've got written down here, it's a bit Running Man.
A bit? The only thing wasn't a slow-mo shot of Arnie.
The Orion guy, the administrator. He seemed like the kind of guy that would call someone cutie pie. He had a bit of campness to him, and I don't know if I'm liking that gold.
The new Orion look,
the Orions, they look a little bit fabulous. I don't know.
Well, maybe the Orions have gone down a whole new path since we've seen them 900 years ago. They all might be fabulous now.
The Andorians look a lot sharper. They look like
much more angular.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they did in Enterprise with Orions and Andorians. They looked a little bit like they don't look natural, but they're aliens, so they could look like anything, I guess. But what Peter said about the Burnham arc, as soon as she started talking about insubordination and that kind of really, guys, just decide on what you're going to do with her for God's sake. Is she going to? That was annoying. But to me,
what I'm seeing with the first half of Season 3 so far is it's very much a Michael Burnham show. It's pretty much like a one-actor show. It's not like You know, the where Next Gen and things like that had your ensemble cast, and it was very much fleshed out for an episode for that cast member, an episode for that. And you watch them. There's your Beverly episode, your Deanna episode, and what have you.
Sure, yeah.
They're pretty much very that A storyline, because you've got your A and your B storyline. That A storyline is very much Michael, pretty much in every episode. I'm loving the refit. It's very
Recovery A.
Oh no! See, I'm more like it because it's kind of like what would happen if they brought the Enterprise into Tron.
Look, I don't have a. I don't.
It looks awesome.
I don't have a problem. I don't.
Pretty blue colors.
I don't have a problem with it being a refit because, they state that it's going to be the first responder ship because of the spore drive. It's got to be brought up to specs for now. This is what I don't like. The A.
Yeah.
The A.
Why?
Why has it got an A? Why? No other ship has, except Enterprise, and of course we know Voyager, but no other ship. Enterprise, when Enterprise got its refit, never got an A.
Actually, it didn't. It didn't get an A until it was a whole new ship.
Yeah.
Until it was replaced, and the reason it became an A was it was Kirk and crew had saved everybody with the whales, and they decided your best destiny is to be a starship captain.
Yeah,
and here's the Enterprise. Because we were discussing this, but there's a couple of things I had on this that I went looking because I thought, okay, maybe I'm being too hard, because the thing is that the J, when we saw the Voyager J, and we discussed the Defiant. Now, of course, all the way through Trek, there have been ships with the same name. They've just never had the same registration number with the letter. We saw the hood in Next Gen. Well, there was a hood in Classic Trek, but it didn't have. Was a refit.
Yeah.
No, it
wasn't marked. So the refit was.
It was actually the USS Yelch.
It was the same ship that they had just refitted. The A was when that was. Remember, he destroyed at Star Trek 3. The A came in Star Trek 4 into Star Trek 5.
It was supposed to be. I think it was like depending on where you look, it was supposed to be the Yorktown. It was commissioned as the Yorktown, but before they commissioned it, they gave it to Kirk, and it became the Enterprise A. So it had a it was that, and then now we were discussing 2 weeks ago the Defiant. So I went a deep dive. Thanks, Mark. We were discussing that before.
Saying how old Pete was.
Yeah. I went and had a really good, interesting deep dive on the Discovery, on the Defiant. All the way through the whole of DS9, the Defiant had the NX classification on it. It never changed to NCC.
Yes, it did.
And no, it didn't. It didn't. And I thought it did. When it came.
Sao Paulo.
No. The San Polo was the ship that took over from the Defiant and got renamed Defiant.
Yeah.
But, and whilst the plaque on the wall showed its NCC, all the shots of it from that point onwards still said Defiant and still had the NX classification.
Yeah, because
they were using old footage.
They were using, that's right, because of the digital effects that was DS9 was using, they kept using it. And so that's why the line was put into the script that said special dispensation from Starfleet to rename it Defiant.
Under budget cuts.
Well, yeah. So that's why I went in there.
Go and watch the original Battlestar. It is the same footage of every ship.
Well, that was exactly it. The most expensive...
Same with Generation in Star Trek 6 with the bird of prey.
When
it blows up, it's the same shot.
But in original Battlestar, the most expensive shot for the original Battlestar was the Viper launch.
Yeah.
So it got used as often as possible, and then got reused in Buck Rogers to be the launch tube for that. So
I have no topic here, but anyway.
Yeah, but okay. But the reason I have been an interesting version that I heard that it got the A was that Starfleet renames it A to make out that it is in fact a new ship, so that there's no trouble with the temporal accord.
And no one else gets it.
Okay.
Yeah. The fact that they're wearing their old uniforms, it's the old crew, all that sort of stuff. Let's not worry about that.
Look, I like that was
an
wearing their original uniforms. I like that they're still wearing their original uniforms. The I said I like the refit. I like the pretty colors. I like the lights. I think it looks great.
I love the refit. Don't get me wrong.
There's an awful lot of humans and not a lot of aliens at Starfleet, even though Earth isn't part of the Federation anymore. So are these humans that are there generational humans? I don't know. I have a bit of a problem, but I'm happy to throw that to one side.
There's no budget.
So let's get Scavengers. We've so the last week's episode of Disco, we mentioned that obviously it was a bit Running Man, but they had to go. She had to go rescue Book, which we know, which we'll discuss a little bit further about their relationship from Unification 3.
It was a fancy way of bringing Book back.
Yes. Yeah. And that's pretty much what the whole point of the episode was. What I do love, though, is I just love Michelle Yeoh. She's fantastic. And I like her and Michael, the scenes of them together. I don't know if there's anyone else could pick up on the comments and ad-lib and just deal with the situation the way that Giorgio can.
Well,
she's like, how much more time do you need? And she's like, 30 minutes.
One of the standouts for me with that episode was when Giorgio owns the administrator when they're on the comms. Just the way she dealt with.
He was fine.
Give me someone who's more important. Give me someone who's more important than you. Yeah, that was just. Giorgio's a great character. She's written well. I really love. Excuse me, what they've done with her. How to keep her in the show. And
you've got the advantage of playing an evil character, so she doesn't have to be confined to the Trek world and the Trek rules or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
She's an evil character.
The Starfleet moral compass, which makes it a little bit more enjoyable and not so rigid.
Because she will torture you if she wants to.
Yeah, true.
Done that.
Her blackouts and what's going on there. Like now, I really especially after that episode, I really want to see. Lily, I like that comment. Nice. I really want to see what's going on. The burn, the mystery of the burn. Yeah, that's one thing, but I want to see what's going on with Giorgio. That's just she owns that show.
Yeah.
Everything she's in, she steals the scene.
Yeah, there's a whole second storyline there that they're only just teasing with us.
And they've got to finish. They've got to wrap it up. Yeah, it's all to do with David Cronenberg. That story is all connected with him. He's triggered that. So there's a whole. I'm still saying his character. I'm still saying he's Section 31.
Section 31.
And there's something there, and he's triggered.
Yeah,
undoubtedly. He's triggered that for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think
overall, I thought Scavengers was okay, but probably it was a means to an end. They need to bring Book back into the. They need to clog up their shuttle bay with his ship.
Well, my notes, just because I was writing notes, is it's a clever. Where did I put it? Hang on, I've got like 20 pages of notes here. No, I'm joking. Probably not. Right, it was a clever way, a convenient plot filler episode, to tie up certain loose ends and bring some extra bits and pieces into it. So, because don't forget, he brought an Andorian with him too. There's an Andorian there. So, and I believe on the promo for the next episode, I think he's back. But, because the Andorian was in his sick bay on his ship. So there's going to be an Andorian somewhere on Discovery.
I think it was a necessary episode to do to a lot of fans. Yeah. I think it was a necessary episode to do to a lot of fans what it did to us, which was, Burnham's gone again, to go up against how far she then comes in Unification 3.
Well, that's it. Then let's. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. So, Lily, you didn't like the Tilly storyline? Is it just Tilly in general? you're not a fan of, or was it just more the storyline they were doing with her at the time? But so we go from Scavengers, though, which, as I said, was okay, but it was a means to an end, to then Unification Part 3. Really?
Can I show you just on what Lily just said there? Can I just show you something? I don't know if you can see that. Where are we? Tilly, first, give me a break.
Actually, here we go. So you go. See that? Look at that. It's like it's Tron with a starship. I love it.
I think it's gorgeous. Yeah. I really love it. The detached nacelles, I love that. And because as a model builder, I looked at that and just thought, how do I build that? And then
I still don't understand why you would have detached nacelles. I've never understood.
I'm gonna look at that. The power output required is going to be astronomical. But I want to talk about Unification Part 3. Holy crap!
Wow. Yeah.
Just wow. I mean, Ali put it here.
Absolutely.
That episode has all the feels. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, it's. I just wrote here, wow. But then to have the Quoat Malat, the Romulan warrior nuns from Picard, I thought that was brilliant.
That was a great
they of course linked. They linked everything. They linked Next Gen with Unification. They've linked Picard in there because
finally we get to find out what happened with the Vulcans and the Romulans now, I guess. Wow, so emotional. Tilly's now number 1. You know what? She's only an ensign. I can't see that really happening.
I can. I can because sometimes, and remembering that in fact Starfleet is not strictly military. Okay, this is something that has kind of gotten lost. It's not strictly military. So the number 1 is in the world of Star Trek. The number 1 is more the conscience of the captain. And I think what we saw in Scavenger is that we saw Tilly was his conscience. He went to her over Burnham. And even though the answer she gave is the answer he wanted, the pain of having to do that was difficult for her. But, and all the way through everything from since, we've never had a combination like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, where we've had the two sides of the soul. Yeah, with Kirk there and the two sides of the soul. In one sense, Tilly is close to that. She's very Dr. McCoy with the way she does things in the hearts on the sleeves sort of thing. But I can see that. I also have the feeling that the truth of the matter is no other crewman would want the job. Let's face it, they've all got their own problems at the moment, and she is the one. And I think Saru kind of suggests this to her. She is the one of the entire crew that has been able to adjust and assimilate to where they are and the rules they have to play by now.
See, so I'm looking at Mark and Lily's comments here. Mark mentioned that Stamets would have been a better choice, and Lily here reckons Detmer or anyone. The problem I found with all of those, any other choice other than Stamets, is they haven't developed the characters enough for us to give a shit about them.
No, exactly.
We watch it with that whole idea of your traditional, Trek with your main cast of 7 to 9 cast members, and Discovery doesn't really have that. Yes, you've got your bridge crew, but they haven't developed any of them enough to really. They could blow up next week, saving the ship or something, and it'd be like, okay.
Scott, Discovery is
the episode.
Discovery is a throwback to classic Trek.
Episode 5, when Saru hosted the dinner for the senior crew.
Yeah,
when they're all together, it seemed awkward because they are the command crew, they are the senior crew, and traditionally what we're all used to in any Star Trek show is that there's the ensemble cast, and it's generally the senior crew. They're not really part of that. and Lily, I agree. She's probably the only one that looks the part. But it's just awkward, because they have not done the ensemble. It's always been Burnham and Saru and Tilly. That's it.
Yeah.
Georgia. So those four, And Stamets, obviously Stamets, he's been written really. I'm going to say, well, I think he's been written with some in depth, but he's written in depth. But I'm not a big fan of Stamets. I don't like his character. He serves a purpose, but I think
he's not a warm type of guy.
No, he's not. So I don't like any scene with him in it. I don't like, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that character. I do like his new goo. The
new interface.
Yeah, the interface. But I'm not a big fan of Stamets. But if someone said who would you have chosen, I guess Tilly in a way would have been the obvious choice.
It made sense to me.
Look, to make that a little bit more palpable, instead of just saying you're now first officer, I would have preferred, I'm promoting you to lieutenant. Now you're going to be first officer. That would have been more palpable.
Or even a field commission.
Anything other than the way they, because then they at that last scene when they're in engineering and she comes down and they're all that little ceremony thing they had for her. Are you kidding me? Are you saying all these experienced senior officers are just going to stand there and go, yay, yay! Acting ensign cadet crazy girl is going to be in charge of us, and she's going to
Actually, here's the thing. So we've basically Picard's cracked the shits. He's demoted Riker, and he's made Wesley number one.
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Tilly. I think she's a fantastic character. I've said it before. She's one of the strongest parts of that show.
Yeah.
But
I like her.
She's not first officer material as an ensign. It's just not believable. Yes, we're being nitpicky. There's ways around it. There's ways to do it. It's just not for me. I'm not convinced. She's probably going to be great in the role, and she's probably going to have some of those real kick-ass moments she did when they did the crossover episodes in the alternate universe.
Oh, look, how long is it? How long will it be before we have the big episode where she has to order someone to their death?
You can see where it's headed for. It's probably
they're going to do that. Look, but we digress. I think I really like the beach. Let's talk about Spock. Like holy shit. I really liked Saru with the head of
the president.
Vulcan. Yeah,
I think Saru is heading. He's the perfect ambassador.
Oh, isn't he? What?
As far as a character development, in this storyline. He would. I think he would eventually become the Federation's ambassador. To everyone. So
I thought it was just brilliant, and you could tell that she could tell he was sincere in what he was asking about, and he was. There's no bullshit around him. He's just a lovely. He's a lovely captain.
He's lovely and intelligent, but he doesn't have that edginess that some others do. I think he's got more Picard in him than anyone else.
Yeah.
Look, when it comes to the Vulcans and Romulans and Navarre, I actually like the fact that they kept the makeup the way they did it in TNG, where the Romulans have the slight.
You could tell which were which. Yeah, they had the.
But even throughout Next Gen, even in Picard, some of them didn't have that. So some do, some don't. But I like that they did that so you can differentiate the two, and some and then even when they did the ceremony that they did, one Romulan was all for it, one was against it. The one was the rebellious one. So it's still not 100%, but it's going the right direction. It is cool.
Yeah, and it was. I thought the interaction with her mum was fantastic, especially when it was. I really like when they start giving us. I guess we'll call it real Star Trek, where they start just quoting old stuff. Where she was raised as a Vulcan, so she can play their game, knows what to incite, what rituals, and are you still living by the old ways? Okay, let's do this. As a graduate of this Vulcan Science Academy, and they're just going, shit.
Can you imagine? Let's dance.
Yeah. I thought it was fantastic. But the seeing her watching that clip of Spock, mentioning it was from Ambassador Picard's private files, and it was just brilliant. What did you think, Pete?
I loved it.
There's a couple of things. One is I don't know why 900 years in the future they'd get excited about Michael Berman. if they even knew who Michael Berman is.
I did wonder about, but she was like, basically they were all wiped from the databases. How would Vulcan know about him?
Yeah. Look, there is a line from the president where she explains that Starfleet had briefed them on Discovery and everything. Yeah. So, fine. An interesting thing, a few things that I found interesting. One, the badge that the combined Romulan Vulcans wore.
Yep.
You know how everybody now has their personal transport badge.
Yeah.
Trying to find it. Well, it's altered. That's the point. I tried to find a really deep dive, and it looks like what it is the outside of the Raptor, and the inside is a reworked IDIC. Yeah. But trying to find a decent version of it so you can actually see, because one of the things that's why I went and had a deep dive, and I thought, hold on, if they're wearing the Romulan Raptor as their badge, does this mean Romulans are now dominant? That was an interesting one.
I tried to have a wonder about what sort of concessions the Vulcans would have made, it's a give and take sort of thing, but it's like, because the Romulans wouldn't have wanted to move to Vulcan for a start. It's hot. Who wants to live there?
Yeah, and it doesn't exist in the Kelvin universe. But
you're going to use it. Okay, you know what? Install air conditioning and use our logo, and we're good to go.
Well, yeah, but Romulus was also a hot planet. And of course so look, the other thing we haven't seen, fortunately, is that's it. The thing is, we haven't seen any of the Remus style. But what was interesting is that's why I tried to do a deep dive on the badge, because there's a few interesting things. Romulus and Vulcan together, and yes, it follows on from Picard. It talks about things that are in there, but the Vulcans taking the blame for the burn and not explaining it.
Yeah, I found that interesting. Yeah.
That was interesting. Now, if you want to link it all the way back to Enterprise, the Vulcans never had a great love of the human race. If you go to classic Trek, Spock was frowned upon for wanting to join Starfleet.
Can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
I just want to thank Mark for the way he spelt supernova. I just want a big shout out, Mark. That's awesome.
You did that on purpose.
Oh, well, Mark knows her. Mark, did you know that Adele has passed away?
Oh, yeah, actually, a big shout out for
Adele Carr, yes.
Back in the day. Adele Carr from Best of Both Worlds, who was one of the first conventions I ever traveled interstate for 20-something years ago. Passed away about a week ago. So very much our condolences from here at First Contact go out to all friends and family and previous attendees of Best of Both Worlds and everybody that knew Adele.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
I only saw it by chance. A friend of mine on Facebook posted the notice from Brian about it. So sad. It's always sad when we lose one of the family, and like she started as one of the family. Yeah, like so many people did. So anyway, yes. So look, you go back to it. Spock was ridiculed for the rift with his father for going into Starfleet. So in the episode, she talks about there was more than just this burn issue. Vulcan wasn't happy with the Federation, that there are problems, that the Federation... It was interesting that she almost was talking about the Federation as if it was the Klingon Enterprise or the Klingons in the classic Trek, or even Romulans, that their empire expanded, that they cared more about their expansion than they did about their members. It was an interesting little sideline. So obviously, finding out about the burn isn't going to solve.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what's in this data that Michael now has hold of.
Well, I'm starting to get the sense that the Federation and Starfleet could potentially be the bad guys.
You reckon they did it themselves?
Yeah, well, not that they did it themselves, but...
See, and I'm wondering, was it even on purpose? The burn may have been an accident.
Well, yeah, that's what we talked about ages ago, and that's what I'd love to see, that it was a mistake. It was like, oops, oops.
But everyone's leaving the Federation.
Because I think you're right.
I got the impression that everyone was leaving the Federation purely based on distance. It's like, well, we can't get to you anymore because we pretty much don't have warp drive.
But again, with what they said on Vulcan, is that the excuse? Not the reason. Is that the excuse? Or we don't have warp drive. It's too difficult to stay in the Federation now. There's our way out, as opposed to the fact that maybe they wanted out anyway. Because again, the comments from Vulcan were very, very interesting in that. So it's very interesting in that kind of idea.
It's a huge deep dive. I mean, I think we could probably talk for hours about that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It's clear, even when Admiral Vance is talking about the current state of affairs and the burn, you can see how closed off he is, and he stops certain conversations.
It's a bit like he knows more than he's letting on. He knows more than he's letting on.
That's obvious. That's obvious, and there's more there to come. Again, and as we'll get into Mando soon, the problem is these shortened seasons are not. I don't think they're allowing the stories to play out properly, because either they've got to carry it over to a next season, which just isn't.
It doesn't seem to be something they do, though.
No, yeah, or it's like
they give you a small cliffhanger, but they're not. They give you a small cliffhanger, but they're hardly going to leave you, fittingly, with a best of both worlds part 1.
Yeah. So
Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
With Romulans.
Yeah. And so look, let's overall, I thought though, Unification Part 3 was brilliant. Totally got me in the feels. It really drove home that Trek is a drama series. And I thought it was great. I loved it. Now, what I do have here before we go into chatting about Mandalorian for everybody watching is I've got the promo for next week's episode of Discovery, which we can play now.
This is where the burn started.
So we have a point of origin. Something or someone is definitely sending it.
Philippa?
That's weird, scientifically speaking.
I'm about to do something that might get us both killed.
Did you mean what you said?
I want in. I can face anything.
Floating blue bottles.
I did have a thought. I can't help but wonder.
Actually, we didn't even mention the whole she went over to book ship for a bit of naughty time.
I thought about that when I was watching it. And I thought, wow, how life's changed. Here they are in bed. She's supposed to be naked, and in classic Trek, we knew it happened because Kirk pulled his boots on.
We're in Discovery, you see a bit of naked shoulder.
Well, I was actually thinking the other day, what if the burn was really just a bunch of out-of-work comedians doing a comedy roast on William Shatner and it got out of hand?
Potentially.
Oh, Chris, that's gold. Who knows? We'll have to wait till next Friday night on Netflix.
Yes.
As Burnham's special companion.
Yes. But no, so I'm looking forward to next week's Discovery. However, we now jump over to Mandalorian. Firstly, I guess as we change from one franchise to the other, the big news that just came out today, obviously, is that a sad farewell and another one to David Prowse, who passed away today.
Yes.
So very sad. I know that he was a guest at Supernova in Brisbane back in the day, G.
Yes.
Yeah. So very much our feelings and thoughts go out to all these fans and family around the world, and we are with you in that as part of the greater Star Wars family. Big loss. He was well known on convention circuits. He retired a couple of years ago, but was still doing lots of signings and things. So our condolences go out to everybody there. But Mandalorian Season 2. So we've got Chapter 12, The Siege, and Chapter 13, The Jedi. Let's try and keep our excitement for The Jedi until later. Talk about The Siege. So we'll talk about the siege first.
In context, I thought the siege was exactly what Scavengers was. It was an episode to give breathing space for what was going to come.
Yes, and allowed him to get his ship fixed properly.
Yes.
But
yes, and there's a part.
Any chance to see Carl Weathers, I'm in for.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and,
Carl also, he directed it.
Yes, which was great. And obviously, I mean, how good was that big cameo from Gene's guy?
Yeah. Oh, wow. And that's rocked the world. No, not your friend G. Not Gene's guy.
Gene's guy
wearing the jeans.
All the pictures, which apparently, though, if you go and look at the episode now, he's been removed.
Gone. He's been removed. He's not. Yeah. Well, what was that? Wasn't there one in one of the other episodes? In one of the other episodes, you could see somebody's hand with Baby Yoda or something. You know, so.
Yeah. No, look.
Shouldn't that be rips? Shouldn't that be rips in pieces? Gene's got
Look, it showed that Mandalorian is it's an action show. So we've got Trek, that's a drama, and we've got Mando, which is an action series. I thought it was fantastic. The stormtroopers, the siege on the base.
I love the opening with the Aqualish, that had taken over the Mandalorians, their hideout underground, and then the Aqualish, the Ponda Baba race from episode 1.
Yes.
He doesn't like you, that guy.
Yeah.
And then,
yes. It's very much watching out for the aliens of who's Filoni bringing back into this one, just because he's like, I want to see that guy again.
Yeah, exactly. The sound effects are perfect. I thought it was great. It was a great way to open the episode. It was a good scene. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. But I don't know if anyone noticed, when they're at the Imperial station and all the stormtroopers are there, every single word of dialogue made by the stormtroopers was from episode 1, episode 4 from New Hope.
Yeah. It was all original dialogue.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
Which was so cool.
It was hilarious.
Maybe they couldn't afford a script writer that week or something. I don't know.
I keep pointing it out. My wife keeps looking at me just thinking I'm a moron.
The only thing missing and the scene we need is a stormtrooper to bash his head on the door.
I think,
then they've
look, knowing what Filoni and Favreau have done so far, I guarantee you, I put money on it.
It'll happen.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Well,
absolutely, will happen.
But yeah, no. It was a very much a nothing episode, but it was action packed Star Wars that we like. You got his ship all fixed because that worried me having all the netting and everything there.
I don't think it was a nothing episode. It was a massive revelation.
It introduced the fact that they'd been experimenting with a certain now named character's blood.
Yes,
and that's why they wanted him,
and that's what it was, a science station. And looking to have Moff Gideon still around.
Yeah, and and of course he ties in with the episode before because he has the dark saber. Yeah, and
there's a couple of things you missed, Peter.
Did I?
There's a couple of massive things that. Well, for one, when they're in the facility and there was obviously the guys in the tanks.
Yeah, well, that was after the
first conclusion is like, they kind of look like Snoke. I hope they're
no.
It's actually. I did wonder when I saw that the clones and things they were working on. I did wonder if that was a.
Yeah.
Actually, no. What occurred to me more, not Snoke, but more the Palpatine clones.
Palpatine, because in Clone Wars there were episodes where he was experimenting with younglings, Jedi younglings.
Yeah,
there was an episode with that in there. So I hope it's not Snoke. Because as far as I know, they're not going to link up any of this with the sequel trilogy at all.
Well, I know in the Dark Horse comic that came out not long after Jedi. Which had Han and Leia having the twins. They had twins, even though obviously in the later movies they've only had the one.
Yeah, Jason
and Palpatine. It was discovered then that his consciousness was in clone bodies, some places, a whole stack.
Yeah, that was Dark Empire.
Yeah. Dark Empire. That's it. Yeah. So,
but at the end of the episode, when you see Gideon on his ship, He's in the room that opens up, because they when the officer that spoke to the alien that said, we put the tracker on the ship. That alien was actually from Force Awakens. Rise of Skywalker. It was the one that murdered Rey's parents. Not necessarily the same character, but the same species. So they've But in the room that Gideon's in, you notice down the sides you've got Dark Troopers, which are from some of the video games.
Yeah. Well, see, since I've not played any Star Wars video games, I wouldn't recognize them. I thought they was Well, I thought they was some sort of Dark Trooper or something. And I saw who was it? Chris's comment. They reminded him of the Anubis warriors from SG-1. Yeah, and I kind of thought the same thing. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Live brains and basically droid bodies.
I did like their little friend, the bookkeeper.
Yeah, who's returned?
Yeah, blue guy with the.
I'll knock some more time off your term.
I did like the reference. I didn't even notice the reference when he said to when they're in the facility, do the whatever you need to do with the power thing. But he goes, "There's no guardrail."
Yeah. I saw that.
That was hilarious.
And and just
the.
Yeah, but and I mean that was another exact scene out of episode 4. Out goes the little person to turn things off. In this case, it was him, not Obi-Wan. And that even the console in that looked exactly the same. So
it did, didn't it?
Yeah, design was the production we've done.
I think what's really interesting, what establishes here something really interesting, and even though in the previous episode there was a minor version of it. And then there's a comment by Mando in Jedi. Is the strength still of the Empire, for want of a better terms? There may be factions within there, but the military might that still exists is interesting. I mean, there were no shortage of stormtroopers and everybody in that facility. There he goes and storms. There's no shortage of stormtroopers on his ship towards the end, and it's not a little ship. So, obviously also little links to how the New Order is created for the last 3 movies. Probably generates out of all of this or whatever.
The one thing that Filoni did in Clone Wars and Rebels, he very cleverly and very subtly added in things from Legends and the expanded universe and wove them. He got Thrawn in there, who was never canon, but there were elements that he brought in, especially and even with some of the Empire and the post Jedi Empire, what happened after. So he's linking that in, and what Favreau's done, he's let Filoni put some of this storyline and actually make it canon, which obviously we know in a about 2 minutes time we'll start talking about, I dare say. But all of that's coming in, and things that as Star Wars fans that play the video games, but like anyone who plays Battlefront, that episode felt a lot like you were playing Battlefront. There are so many things in the games, the video, especially PS4 and Xbox games, modern games that you can play that look amazing, and you just dream to see it on the big screen. And now we've seen it in live action. But that canyon chase felt like you were playing Battlefront 2, And then that scene when Carl Weathers is on the turret and he's trying to shoot at the TIE fighters, and he gets like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This is really hard." It's ridiculously hard, So I love what they're doing. Like they're really, you can tell that everyone who works on this show knows Star Wars and is a fan.
Yeah,
and this is what we were talking. This is what we were talking about before we came on live tonight, and this is the one thing that bugs me with Discovery. You take a look at Mando, and they're so careful what they weave in, and they know what they're weaving in. Yes. And the thing with Discovery, and I'll just take a point from its own seasons and what it did. We now have the A on the Discovery, okay? Yet in the short trek Calypso, which is set 900 years, and now we can only assume it's 900 years from now, from where it currently is, there's no A on the Discovery. It's
Paradox.
Just it. Well, my point being that you've got something like Mando where they're saying what we put in has to connect, it has to work, it has to be right. And yet Discovery, they wrote this whole episode, and Calypso is a really wonderful retelling of the Greek myth. And they created that episode, and it's like, but we'll just ignore the fact that 900 years from now, the ship doesn't have the A anymore.
But that's also in Star Wars, though. I mean, George Lucas retconned half of, the origin of so many elements that, once he did the prequels, like Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but
could say that he was different perspective and didn't want to tell the whole truth. But yeah, there's a lot that he added in and changed that. I don't know. I mean, I see.
Yeah, but you know what? On that side of it, I don't have a problem with that because it's George's right to do that. It's George's show. He created all of that. He created the backstories in his mind. He always said there was 9 episodes. It's a shame he didn't get to the last 3. The fact that the first 3 are so appalling, they're his show. If Gene had been alive and written Enterprise and Discovery and decided this is how his Star Trek future was, I wouldn't have had an issue with it because it's his. What I have an issue with is when people decide we don't care anymore and it's not that important. And you see something like Mando, which is so careful. I don't know all the Clone Wars references, the games and half the comics and all the rest of it. But they're making sure that if they're putting it in there, it fits. It fits with what has existed. They aren't just deciding it's now their story to tell.
Sure. They're
being very cautious of it is their story they're telling because, again, it's a bit like Mando to me is Rogue One, It's like it's their story they're telling, but they're being very careful that how they tell it fits with what exists, And I just find that amazing that Discovery doesn't do that, and it's occurring, in the same world that we're in, knowing that the fans.
I always liked Janeway's take on it, where she swore she would never get caught up in time travel. The future's the past, the future. Who knows?
Don't talk to me about that. The last 2 episodes of Voyager, I was really annoyed with it that they used a time travel trick. Look, they could have done all of that.
I just binge watched 4 seasons of Enterprise, and we've now started watching Voyager again. So we're about halfway through season 1 so far, and so far the best line in the whole thing is Neelix, where he says they're a ship full of idiots. It's straight up. But all right.
Well, I can tell you, having met every one of the cast except for Jerry, he was right.
Look, Pete, I think just from what you were saying, the difference with Star Wars and Star Trek is that Star Trek's changed hands, right, a number of times. What I think they're trying to do is they're trying to appeal to different, or every time it changes hands, every time they do something new, they're trying to appeal to a different. They're trying to get new audience. They're trying to get new fans, and they forget about the current generation of fans.
Oh, I agree. Totally agree.
Where you get all this convolutions in places, and and things that just don't match up. But anyway,
look. So let's forget about the new fans. And this week's episode of Mando was purely for us older fans, especially ones that have watched all the cartoons and went through the whole, but you're a middle-aged man, why are you watching kids shows? Because this is the way.
Yeah.
Jedi.
There are 2 points that I want to mention.
Ahsoka Tano, like, holy shit.
Before we get into Jedi, into that episode, there are 2 points I want to make from Siege. 2 points. Yep. One, the child, at this point, he's still the child.
Yep.
Being a dick in the classroom, stealing the other macaroon.
Oh, but sometimes you just want macaroons.
Yeah, I know, but
did you
abusing?
Did you see the 3 days
the aisle of Safeway and Woolworths bloody taking all that macaroons? Yoink.
Yeah, but did you see the 3 days? 3 days later in the US, branded Baby Yoda macaroon packets were selling for $50 each.
Yeah. Well, And
Oh, goodness.
The other point, the stupidest question ever asked in Star Wars history. The dumbest question. Right at the end, Mr. Kim from Kim's Convenience, Carrara at the end, asking, you're from Alderaan, right? Did you lose anyone?
Yeah.
Come on.
I lost everyone, dickhead.
My wife, who's not a Star Wars fan, sitting next to me, she just said, everyone, which is exactly what she said. I mean, is that not the dumbest line?
Mark, just a quick one for Mark. Robert Beltran has come to Australia.
Yeah, but not for me. He hasn't been out in the old days.
He was a Maria one.
I agree.
That's the one where he had the stalker. That's a whole other podcast we'll do one night.
Yeah. Okay.
Me and Robert Beltran stalker. Okay.
But yeah, so the Jedi, one, Michael Biehn, awesome.
Yeah, I said it's Hicks.
Yeah. I was watching it going, it's Michael Biehn. Yes.
You're there.
we had him back in the day.
Yep.
Rosario Dawson absolutely nailed it as Ahsoka. And she's obviously, I mean, the character, so Ahsoka's obviously been practicing and keeping in practice with this stuff. Her sort of disappearing into the mist and shit, that was brilliant. That was so good.
And I loved how they didn't make us wait for Ahsoka.
No, yeah. First scene straight in. Yeah.
Bang. Like, come on. That was just, look, to me, I think that's probably one of the best episodes of sci-fi ever. I mean, I've got some of my favorite episodes of sci-fi come from Babylon 5, but that was brilliant.
So, so the big thing, so obviously, so we've got two massive, Hollywood stars there, right? Giving it some real acting chops there. Baby Yoda got named, so we now have a name of Grogu. Which was brilliant. When Ahsoka was fighting the magistrate or getting ready, and when she said, "Where's your master?" I said, my first thought was, "Is she a Sith?" Was the first thing I thought.
Yes.
And she was certainly trained like one. But then when she said, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" Lost my shit.
Yep.
Well, now see. Okay, so you two having seen all the animated, because I haven't. This is the one thing that with the animateds and that I knew all these characters existed. But how does it tie in with Jedi, the movie, when Yoda says to Luke, "When gone I am, the last Jedi you will be," and yet there are all these other Jedi still running around.
Exactly, and this is what I was saying before. This is what I was saying is that he does kind of retcon his own storyline.
See, I would have argued that Ahsoka's not a Jedi because Ahsoka left the Order. She's not a Jedi.
Now I've seen that argument as well. So
it could even be that. Like I read a little theory that the name of the episode, The Jedi, isn't a reference to Ahsoka.
No.
Yep.
I mean, and realistically, at this point in time, I mean, Luke hasn't gone nuts yet.
No, I was just curious. As I said, I had seen that.
Luke is the. If they finish this series with a cameo from Mark,
they won't.
Why?
See, I always thought the biggest thing that they got wrong was that at the end of one of the later sequels, Mark should have just flipped out, totally carried on, and suddenly converted into the Joker. It just would have been the best way to handle his descent to madness. I was like, okay.
What I find funny though is that the cat, Jin, he's trying to get the child back to the Jedi.
Yep.
Yes.
And he's been bailed up by New Republic officers, the X-Wings and all that. All he really has to do is go back with them. Like, he's on this little quest, trying to go back alleys and backwater and do it covertly. All he has to do is fly to the heart of the Republic, surely someone's going to see this thing that looked like somebody remembers Yoda. Luke Skywalker will find out eventually. It's just go back to the Republic. It's ironic. All he has to do is fly back.
Well, I think was funny, Chris. That was a funny line. What is that? Oh, we bring along for luck. The other line he could have used is, "That's lunch."
I think it is interesting, as you said, the side story. But the other thing is that the Jedi aren't as well known at this point. And I think that's valid from even just the original 4 movies, because we have Grand Moff Tarkin say to Vader, "You are the last of the race." So there's a whole period where but not only that, but the galaxy doesn't even know about the Jedi, really.
Look, even when you look at the first of the newer trilogy, when Han and Chewie walk back on the Falcon, and he says, it's true. Basically, she's like, we've heard stories, but the myths, story,
myths and legends, and it's like, no, it was all true. So look. I love the Ashoka entrance. We were right 2 weeks ago, and they had the filler episode, but they didn't hold back on her being there. She opened the episode. She was there. They gave the
no, he wouldn't, but not to a bounty hunter, but
again, what we saw with the episode 2 weeks ago with Katie Sackhoff is he's been raised by a particular sect within the Mandalorian.
He knows what's going on. He's been very closed off.
Yeah, so this seems now to be a breakaway sect of the Mandalorians. This is another group, and they've kept him in their version of the galaxy, their version of the world.
Now that you've said that, there's one thing that does bug me about Mandalorian since the first episode of this season, when he finds Cad Vance and gets Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah,
Boba Fett was supposed to be the most revered bounty hunter in the galaxy. How does he not know about him? How has he never heard of him?
Especially among bounty hunter circles.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been in the guild.
Yeah.
So, Boba Fett, how does he not know about him and recognize the armor? Anyway.
Well, yeah.
I'm digressing away from how good the show actually is in this episode. But
no.
It does bother me.
And look, I know what you're saying. As I said, that's one of those things that bugged me with Next Generation. As I said, that episode, Naked Time, where, they just casually toss over the fact of Kirk's Enterprise. It's like your ship's got the serial number and the code from him. It's like, so I agree. Like, why isn't it known? Why doesn't Mando, when he sees that armor, why isn't he aware of, that's Boba Fett's armor? Exactly. If he's in the guild.
At that point in time where there'd be so few Mandalorians around.
Yeah. Well, and it's only 5 years after. It's only 5 years after Jedi, so it's not like he's passed into total legend at that stage.
God, nice, Chris. Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, sorry. Logic. Oh.
But I love some of the reference when you finally get that dialogue with Ahsoka with Grogu and Jin. Like, there was some of the she references the prequels about him being a Padawan and and then basically references Darth Vader and Anakin. Like even the best of us, with attachment, doesn't.
Which showed to me that she doesn't think she's a Jedi as well. Like she's got doubts about her own power, and that was based on I sense fear. That scares me enough because I see that fear of her own ability to train him and not have it stuff up.
Yeah, she knows what happens if.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting that she basically suggested he had already started down the dark side, which was a fascinating kind of little.
Yeah,
and that's why she. Yeah. Well, that's exactly, and the eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Damn right. And it continues in this episode. He keeps ripping off the knobby thing out of the Razor Crest. The kid's a kleptomaniac.
That scene when she's trying to test him and use the rock, soon as she held the rock, straight away, it's not going to work. He's going to pull out the
You knew he was going to reach into his pouch and pull it out.
That was a plot device. Yeah,
I'm sitting there going, he's going to pull out the gear stick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But did anyone notice the owl, the spirit animal?
Yes, I did. I saw that sitting up there. Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know if that had any. I didn't know if that had any meaning in terms of anything else within in Star Wars lore. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. What's that there? And hopefully we'll hear more about it. But okay.
Yeah, it's straight out of Clone Wars. In season 3. It's a lot to get into to explain, but it's very, very significant. That owl. That's a big part of Ahsoka and her journey through Rebels and Clone Wars.
Okay. But I did notice it there. Even the Loth Cats. You saw one last episode, but there was another one in the town.
I saw the one in the town.
Yeah, and it's great because that again is the call back to Lothal from Rebels, which validates all of that. Which obviously it's canon, but now there's a potential that we can actually see Lothal.
That's the thing. The fact that she was looking for Thrawn tells you though that she's still on the hunt and searching for
Ezra. So are the rumors true that our mate from iZombie is actually going to be Ezra Bridger?
Who was rumored to play Ezra?
How do you say it? Rahul Kohli?
Who was he in iZombie?
Ravi, the Doctor.
Oh, the Doctor. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he put out all these tweets and Instagram posts and videos that he was going to be, he's been cast to do Ezra, and then he put out another one saying that they told me to pull the post. I was just joking. Yeah, it's not true. I was just joking.
Just joking.
Yeah, exactly. If that was true, if it was just a big prank, that's a bloody good prank.
There was something that I thought of.
It's kind of funny that you've got that. With social media these days, that you've got all these actors that tweet out all this stuff before they're allowed to. It's kind of now we've got TV shows understanding what it's like being a convention promoter when a guest announces himself before we get the chance to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
or announce the fact that they can't come before we get the chance to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even worse. Yeah.
There was something I was just thinking of, and I can't remember what it was. So, can't be very interesting. There's also some fan stuff on it calling for Luke to be in it, even if it's not Mark playing him.
Well, it's more Chris. I mean, we've got to look at if he's going to find another Jedi other than Ahsoka, you've got to think who at this point. So 5 years after Return of the Jedi, who's still around? You've got Luke, maybe Ezra. We know Ahsoka. Is there anyone else? There might be 2 or 3 that might have escaped the
main character from
Order 66. But
I know what I was going to raise. In the previous episode, Siege, of course, we find out at the end that there's now a tracking device on the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
So this episode also makes me wonder if he's not necessarily after the or Grogu, as we can now call him, who sounds more like some sort of anime character. But because he was on this world for quite some time, and nobody turned up to try and capture him. So I wonder if it's not just now the child that Moff, what's his name, is chasing. Moff Gideon is chasing, because he suddenly didn't turn up in this episode, and you would think with the tracking device and how much effort he gone into to get the child, that as soon as they had a fix on it, they'd be there. And it's not like Mando was on the planet and gone in 2 hours. So I wonder if there's something more now, especially since, he's been told, take him to this planet, take him to the temple, and kind of leave him there. Just walk away then. But more and more I'm convinced that, Grogu is actually Yoda's illegitimate child. It's like dropped off at the monastery in the basket. You raise him.
if it wasn't for the fact that they've already stated that he's 50 years old or something.
50 years old.
Yeah.
You could have almost gone, is it Yoda?
A clone of Yoda.
No, is it Yoda resurrected? Is Yoda's species like a phoenix? He passed away at the end of Jedi, and then he popped up again. But they've already filled it in that he's 50, and he was already.
He was already a Padawan. He was already there.
Yeah. No, which we've only just found out in the last episode. But I don't know. It would have been cool if it was Yoda reincarnated.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well because what. Go on.
No, look, one scene that I did really enjoy is when.
Yep.
When Mando and Ahsoka first meet, when they have that quick little fight, he pulls out the grapple lasso and exactly what Boba Fett did to Luke at the start of Jedi.
Yes.
All their weapons specifically designed to fight Jedi. So I thought that was good. It didn't backfire. It didn't work. He pulled out the flamethrower. I thought that was a nice little.
Actually, you know what's sort of really interesting with your comment there, Mark. With if they do all that and we finally get a canon version of Mara Jade, her first appearance in the comic books was the same issue as Thrawn's first appearance.
Yeah, true. I actually thought Mara was going to pop up in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
the girl I can't remember her name, the one from Felicity, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yep.
Like, because she's a redhead, like everyone thought, there was a lot of speculation that she was going to be Mara Jade.
Yeah,
but I'm actually really disappointed they haven't canonized her and put her on film.
Not yet. I mean, this is the beauty of with Filoni, and we know these guys are big nerds like us, and they know this stuff, and they might have gone, all right, let's do it. How many seasons are we going to get out of this show? We don't have to blow it all now.
One of the things I did find interesting, because up till Jedi, kind of thought that maybe Yoda's species had an inherent force ability to use the Force. It was a natural thing. But in Jedi, she actually says he's already been trained, even though he's 50 and he's only still. They had been training him.
Yeah, but
I found it interesting that he has been suppressing his knowledge and not using it to survive
because he's frightened. Yeah. But I just found that interesting because rather than it being, oh look, all of Yoda's race inherently can use the Force.
Yeah,
because that was kind of, it's like, no, hold on. Even at this kind of stage in his development, he has been trained to use it. So that was interesting.
It also shows then that Grogu's obviously more powerful than we realize.
Yes, because she was frightened of him.
There's all the other references to that species have all been super, super powerful. There have been some from the Old Republic era. There's Yaddle that was in the other one.
Yes,
on the council, and then
they do Lily.
Yeah, but then you do correct. Yeah.
And if they don't use it, the ability goes away.
Exactly. Yeah. And Yaddle, she wasn't in from episode 2. You didn't see her again, but she has a backstory. She's got a whole comic series, or a mini series about what happened to her. So she's incredibly powerful. But then there are other ones that were referenced in the Old Republic that were incredibly powerful. So any member of that species are very strong in the Force.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny. I was expecting something along those lines about I can't train him. He's too old.
It's there's interesting stuff. As I said, it's going to be fascinating to see where this plays out. But again, my biggest issue is that it's such a limited series. Although they've already started filming season 3, I believe. That's
apparently we're going to get season. They started filming season 4. We're supposed to get season 3 early next year.
Yeah, so maybe it's just.
Oh look, but both. I mean, season 4 Discovery's in production at the moment. Mando's back in production, so it's these shows aren't going anywhere yet.
Orville's back in production.
Yep. But we know we've only got one season of that left. There's only three. That's only going to be a 3-season show.
Can I pose a question about
Yes.
Admiral Thrawn? Who would you see playing him?
Okay, I saw a picture. Someone had already photoshopped it up. Benedict Cucumber Patch. And when you hear his voice, and watch him blue with his chiseled bits, and could totally see Benedict Mathumberbat.
Okay.
Cucumber.
I actually would have thought the guy that does his voice in Clone Wars, Lars Mikkelsen, Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he does the voice. He's also in. He was in a couple of seasons of House of Cards as well. He was the Russian, the Russian Prime Minister, or the Russian President.
If they bring Thorne into it, you know who'll want to play him just because Nathan Fillion, he'll have his hand up. He'll be going, "I'll do it."
I hope not.
He wants to do every bloody sci-fi character that he can. Rub a little mitts on that man.
Thrawn's going to be very hard to pull off. You need to have.
It's got to be. He's cool, calm, meticulous, articulate.
And at least it carries the voiceover, because there was actually another question is, obviously, yes, we knew Rosario Dawson was going to be Ahsoka. Were they going to dub her voice and use the original actress that did her voice?
Yeah.
But
they didn't need
Rosario did it perfectly. Like, it was just the movement, the lightsabers they got perfect. I love the lightsabers. Looked amazing. Even some of the shots with her igniting the lightsabers straight out of the last season of Clone Wars as well. Just with when that horizontal ignition, they just looked amazing. Oh yeah, nice.
I think we'll wrap it up there. But so basically, I think it's sort of funny that the two shows, if we think last week's episode for Disco and Mando were both okay, but they were a means to an end. And then this week's episodes for both shows were fantastic. That's generally where I'm sitting with both of them.
Well, let's just say I had a really good Friday night.
Yeah.
Entertainment-wise. Let's just get that one out there.
Actually, I haven't seen. I don't know who the Thorne character is. I don't know what he's like. He might even be a bit old to play him now. But from your description of how articulate he should be, how menacing he should be, even though he would never do it because he hates sci-fi now. And he's gone, Australian actor, his name's just gone straight out of my head. Red Skull, V for Vendetta.
Yes, I could totally see that.
Yep. Agent Smith. Who am I thinking of?
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
No.
I can see that. I can see
so
that.
I don't know the characters just based on
honestly,
how you...
Peter, Scott, you look at Peter Budd. Picture him blue.
Done.
Okay,
mate, you've got the right shape. Your head is the right shape for
yeah, it's like
I wonder how long it'll take for someone to Photoshop Peter Budd.
It's like the old days of being told. It's like the old days of being told I had the perfect face for radio. You served him at the Apple Store once. What did he buy, Mark? Did you tap into all his stuff? He hates. Unfortunately, he hates sci-fi now. Because he also voiced Megatron in the first.
In Megatron,
first of the movies, and he said had no idea what he just read the script, had no idea about what it was. So, a credit aside from Trekkies too. Yes, we won't talk about Trekkies too. I was so angry with that documentary when it came out. It's like she was busy telling us all it's a serious look at fandom. It's we want to present fans as these everyday creditable people, blah 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 blah, and then most of the documentary is on the woman who does UFOs and the woman who turned up to jury duty wearing her next gen uniform.
Yeah.
You know, to which I pointed out that we all knew she wasn't a true fan because she would have turned up in her dress uniform for jury duty, not her everyday uniform. You know, so, and I was really disappointed that, you know, Denise had said that this is all about portraying the fans in the positive light of what fans were, and the majority of it wasn't. You know, the majority of it was, let's find the weirdo ones. And that was disappointing. Yeah, I'm in it. It was one of Maria's shows.
Trekkies 2.
Trekkies 2, not the first one.
Trekkies 2.
Conventions. Yeah, Trekkies 2. Maria brought her down with the crew to film down here in Australia. And I'm in there for a few minutes in Trekkies 2. And it's like, I was hosting the show, so we did it between bits and pieces. And as I said, it's like interesting. I was watching.
It's not far off.
It's true. Well, I was watching. I don't know if any of you have seen it on Disney. Have you seen Marvel 616?
Not yet.
Haven't started watching it yet.
And again, as I started watching that, exactly the same thing. Like when I watched, what was that cosplay show they had a few years ago with Yaya and all these different people, and all I thought was, it's just cut the wrong way. I knew cosplayers, and it's like, you know, having worked in the media for as long as I've worked in the media, I don't trust the media at all. You know, and I'm one of those who is strongly of the opinion that you do not agree with the concept that any publicity is good publicity, because it's not. It's bad. The best publicity for fandom at the moment are pop culture expos, are Supernova, a Comic-Con, where you see the multitudes just having a good time. If they're showing those stories, that's the best positive that fandom can get, because they still want to turn it around to the freak sitting in the basement, you know. And sorry, end of preach, but
as you sit in your basement.
Well, no, it's not my basement. It's actually my office out the back, which is slowly but surely. The light's a bit different tonight. I got some new equipment, and I've been trying a few things, and just all that sort of stuff that we're getting together, and you know, for that big night where we'll do our live broadcast of this from a Nova on the Gold Coast or something.
That's it, from a live event.
Yeah, from a live event, not somebody's basement.
We'll get back to live events one day.
It'll be from the basement of the Gold Coast Convention Centre.
It'll be a basement somewhere. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. As always, it is always a pleasure to talk to my fellow nerds like this. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched and commented and joined the conversation. It is always fun, and we look forward to doing this every couple of weeks with you. So again, thank you very much. We will see
Hold on. Lily wants us to do one at a pub. Lily, we don't make sense now. You're going to add alcohol to this?
I already did.
Hotel Liston.
Thanks very much, guys, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks' time for more chatting Trek with a bit of added Mando. See ya.
Yeah.